Oh,
Yeah. So good to be back.
good. Let me know when you're ready, and we'll be ready. Good to go? Oh, yeah. All right, good evening, and welcome to the Heartland Township Planning Commission meeting of Thursday, November 7th, 2019. We'd like to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Keith, would you take roll, please?
Certainly. Mr. Fox,
Here.
Jeff Newsom, Mike Mitchell,
Here.
Bill Claney, Sue Grissom,
Here?
Tom Murphy.
Here?
Okay,
All right, thank you. Next up, item 4, approval of our agenda.
So moved?
Support?
We have a motion from Commissioner Grissom, second from Commissioner Mitchell. Any changes? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Next up, approval of our September 26, 2019 meeting minutes.
So moved?
I'll second that.
We have a motion from Commissioner Mitchell, second from Commissioner Voigt. Are there any changes?
No, they're called draft, does that mean?
They won't be draft after we
Okay.
approve them.
Okay, got it.
Yep.
Oh, that's like a new format thing or something?
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
one of,
Okay, I'm just catching on. Okay.
yes.
Got it.
They won't be after we do a vote.
Okay. There we
It
go.
only happened when, did you print it out from home, maybe?
Yeah, something
that's
on the
right.
top of mine's a little different.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Are we all good with the minutes? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, nay, motion carries. Next up, item 6, call to the public. None. Next up, item 7A. This is a site plan number 19-009, Burger King remodel. If you'd like to come on up.
Absolutely.
Perfect. What we'll do is we'll let Troy, the planning director, just introduce the project. Have a seat, then we'll have you introduce yourself and anything you'd like to add, and then we'll kind of go through the staff review letter.
You bet.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Troy, it's all yours.
Thank you. This property is very near the intersection of US 23, shown here, going north and south, and then M59 going east and west. It would be somewhat at the southeast corner of that, not directly,
Bless you.
more on the intersection of M59 and Blaine Road, right at the south east corner of that intersection. So this is the property that we're looking at. This is an existing Burger King restaurant with a drive-through window. What they want to do is renovate that building, and what I'll do is show you. This is a picture of the existing building. There's a glass atrium dining area sitting here that they will remove this. There's somewhat of a mansard-looking roof here they're going to remove. They're going to take down these parapet walls, and they're going to redo the entrance. Essentially, let me see if I can't get to, this is kind of this is what the building would look like with a new entrance. They're doing new facades. Unfortunately, that building has painted brick. If you, maybe that picture doesn't show it very well. If I zoom in, you can see on some of the current bricks, some of it is, the bricks are falling out, the paint is giving way. In several areas, the brick is starting to chip and decay from the building. So what they're proposing to do is to effectively reface this building with brick, but unfortunately they desire to paint it to match in an earth tone color. Generally, we don't allow painted brick, but in this case, with it already being painted and trying to match with earth tone colors, that's what they're proposing. This did go to the site plan review committee. We did look at it. We did examine these building elevations. That is essentially the project. They are doing a little bit of other site improvements. No real changes to the site. They're repairing damaged concrete, and they're adding some additional landscaping. They'll maintain the existing landscaping that's on the site. What I can show you is just a general site plan of how that looks. The building will be in the same footprint. It'll be actually a little smaller because the glass atrium will be removed. And that's basically the project. If you've got any questions, I'll be available to help answer.
Perfect, thank you. The floor is yours if you'd like to introduce yourself and anything you'd like to say.
Through the chair, if I may, good evening. My name's Matthew Pisco, 37704 Hills Tech Drive, Farmington Hills, Michigan, representing Burger King 5118 at Highland and Blaine. I didn't ask to go through the chair when I said, God bless you, but God bless you.
You don't have to. We're not that formal.
When I look at the existing elevations, I don't want to date myself, but this is when Fonzie jumped the shark architecture. So I think this is a building type that they're using across their enterprise. We're actually in the first wave. They built a lot in North Dakota. So a lot of these methods have been tested because this is a pretty consistent elevation throughout their enterprise. So we have some pretty good feelings that this is a very reasonable, long-lasting fix. So I do have the color stone, the actual ones that are represented, and the renderings are color true. I mean, we match the Pantone so that we accurately represent what you're going to see if we're granted approval. Ms. White had some comments that we wanted to address. First, I'll say in a broad context, we will comply with the issues that she brought up. And very quickly, the downlights are described. They're 30-watt downlights. There's no uplight to cast light, and they really bleed out quite fast. They're wall washers. The paint issue, Mr. Langer addressed. The rooftop screening, we are extending the walls to carry and shield the rooftop units from view from the ground. And we're going to modify the drawing. Just an omission on the reduction on the site plan. It did not show that we were removing in its entirety that glass atrium, which was really kind of an add-on to the store. Once it's removed, that front fascia is just going to be the front facade. It'll be less intense in use, and you know what happens with atriums. Burger King, Wendy's, they fog. It's just not, it's not how we want to have street presence. So with that, I have a full set of plans and the markups. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer.
Sure, and what we do around here, this is a reasonably short review letter. Why don't we just, we're going to take that review letter that you have, the staff review letter.
Okay.
That
Martha.
is dated, that Martha wrote, I dated October 31st.
Yes.
We're just going to start on, in the upper left-hand corner, it says page 4. So site plan review, applicable site standards.
Yes.
Most of the stuff before that is history, just explaining the project and what's happened with the property. So we'll run through that. We'll stop along the way. Any questions that anybody has, they can ask of whoever should be answering it, whether it be Troy or not. So we'll start out with the site description. We've already talked, Troy has mentioned it's a remodeling project, and we need no impact assessment or traffic generation because it's just basically a remodel. The use isn't changing, so nothing required there. Site requirements. I guess you're going to have to modify landscape plans on the construction drawings per this
Yes.
to reflect the removal of the sunroom.
Yes.
Any comments on that? Everybody good with it? Looks like we're okay with all of our parking requirements on page 5, where it looks like we're going to meet the barrier-free parking requirements. Now I'm in the middle of the page there, landscaping and screening. Adding some new plants, but we're not doing a complete landscape renewal program. We're not eliminating, we're just enhancing. Is that the way you would describe it?
That's correct.
Yeah.
We're augmenting existing mature trees and shrubs to keep that continuous barrier between the parking and the streets.
Okay. Sue, any comments on anything that's been brought up in landscaping?
No, I think Martha mentioned just the comment of swapping out the hedge, if you could, that's to screen that, the parking.
Yes, on Blaine, yes.
Yep,
Okay.
We'll comply.
yep.
All right, so we're okay with that. So any other comments on landscaping? If not, I'm going to move to the top of page 6. Parking lot screen is where that particular comment that Sue is
Yep.
talking about. Lighting, you mentioned that. I think Martha's asking, can we just get a lighting page that only shows the fixtures pertinent to this job?
Yes, I actually have that with me, but
No.
yes, we provided that to Martha.
Okay, perfect. Architectural building materials, looks like maybe a little adjustment on the construction plans with some color variations of specs called out on one thing and different on another.
Yes.
All going to be corrected, as you mentioned. Any comments from anybody on painting the brick? We've had several conversations over the phone on this project as a site plan review committee. We did not do them in person. And they need to weave in where they're moving windows, doors, and all those things, and they just need to weave in new brick and then paint the whole building again.
Okay.
Because I think you're leaving most of the brick that's already there. You're just patching and repairing.
That's right. We're going to tooth in tuck point, replace brick, and then we can, modular-wise, we can get the exact same size. So it's not going to be some hodgepodge of different bricks. To your point, we can tooth in repairs. When we get rid of fenestration windows, we can pop those in, and it'll be seamless. Then we can paint it, and it kind of becomes a neutral effect.
Yeah, and you said Burger King has done the current architecture we had, flipped those to look like this?
Yes, yeah,
So-
and with great success. Minot, North Dakota is the site I bring to.
Yeah.
If it can survive in Minot, I can probably, even considering the current weather, it's going to be just fine.
Yeah. 35 seems cold today. We'll probably be, we'll be happy for it in January. Okay, we've talked about that, the architecture, no light band around the top of the building, that's off, that was okay.
Yes.
The parapet walls that you're raising, do you, what of those walls are going up, or has it not been decided yet?
Well, it has been decided in as much as they have to be raised to screen the rooftop
Okay.
units. And we have a very good idea of what that is. And quite honestly, it's of no consequence from a proportion standpoint. It's not going to be some oddity where you're going to say, why
Yeah.
is that pediment so much taller than the rest? It'll just be less steps in the overall unit.
Yeah, I think if you look at I'll just say the newer Burger Kings, they look like they're more of the same height around the roof, other than the stone
Yes.
tends to be a little higher.
That's correct. And
The stone
that's-
columns.
And that's purposeful, just to bring to light the entrance.
Yeah, something not that, but like that, where
Well, it's all kind of even there. It's-
it's,
Yes.
so we may end up being a little more even looking. Maybe not, but more even than we are right now.
That is correct. We will not be a singular plane,
Okay,
because there's no purpose to bring the parapet all the way up. But we will be screening rooftop units, whatever that portion is necessary to do that. So that be an
Okay.
additional 30 feet on the rear of the building.
so if you had to raise the stone column because the parapet wall came up that high, that stone column is meant, entry feature is meant to be taller, you'd
That
raise
rela-
that at the same time?
That relationship will always be higher than
Okay.
whatever remains.
All right, so we're not
Yes.
going to lose this, because
No.
the variation height looks good.
Yes, it does.
And doesn't it have a side on Heartland Road also?
Let me,
That right there will be the
The
Heartland Road side.
yes, and the entrance is at the red pediment, and then next to the red would be the front elevation.
Yeah.
And then the rear side would be Rural King, correct?
Yep.
The south side of it. So is the screening on all sides? Is that what we're seeing there?
Yes. Yeah, and from Yes, you don't have the revised elevation for the back, but the rooftop units are quite a bit further away, so I don't know if visibility, if we didn't have to address that because you can't see them from the rear of the building.
Would you envision, no, this one isn't shooting that far. So we're looking at that elevation there, the long side, that's the west side of the building.
That's correct.
So most of your rooftop equipment's probably sitting in about the middle there because the kitchen's in the middle on the floor plan.
Yes, you are correct. It's from that pediment back. I've got one of those in my briefcase.
Yeah, so what we're probably going to end up seeing is this stuff is what's probably going up.
That's
Is that what
correct.
you're suggesting and
Yes.
thinking? Possibly this, because you've got to take care of it from 59, and then I think they mentioned something about the front of the building also for some reason. But not seeing that, knowing that it's going to be taken care of, obviously it'll be taken care of on the construction plans. The
Yes.
staff will review it and approve it. I think we're just trying to grasp the concept. This hit the agenda, and there wasn't time for these drawings to be revised.
God, we tried.
Well, that's okay, you're here. We're working with it. We're working with it, and we're okay.
Good.
Can we see the rear of the building, Troy? Is there a real
Yep,
elevation?
it's right here.
It's right there.
Thank you.
So what Tom's concerned with is that the rear's got to come up in some way, because that equipment is probably sitting there. So when you create the new elevations, we need to make sure that we're covered all four sides around, because there is retail behind here, plus a residential subdivision road that rides up alongside that.
We can comply.
So
Thank
all four, parapet wall on all four sides covering the equipment.
Yes.
Yep.
That is just what I was saying. Larry, thank you.
Sorry for jumping in on there.
I like it. No, it's all good.
Okay, the materials, everybody is okay with the overall appearance and the materials used on the building?
Sure.
And the height as it goes up, if those stone walls have to go a little higher, are we still well below like height requirement?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And I think the only thing left that I see here right now is on the top of page 8. Troy, can you explain the sidewalk comment?
Oh, yep. I don't know the history of how this happened, but the simple fact is you have a sidewalk going across the front on M59, and as the sidewalk comes across and turns onto Blaine, it just ends at about the middle of the site. And what we are doing is pointing out that ideally, this sidewalk should continue to at least this southernmost curb cut where there's a sidewalk on the other side, the Rural King site. So this stretch here of the Burger King site should have a sidewalk in it. That's probably not ideal, the way it is constructed right up on the edge. That generally there's a landscape area, but it is what it is. So we're noting that to the Planning Commission, if that's something they want to address at this time. Otherwise, at least put the applicant on notice that when they do, they've indicated to us that they do have plans to possibly change the drive-through lanes and do some other changes on the site. If not at this time, then at least at that time, this item would be taken care of.
So nice to know that there's a future plan for it, right? But as a walkable community, it would be nice to see that during the renovation, if that's something that could happen. That's my thought on it.
Do you know if they've discussed that at all back at Burger King, or?
We have discussed it. You can make it a condition of approval.
Oh,
We are going to look at this after the renovations, if they're approved, and then talk about renovating the rear access and the drive-through configuration. So you'll have another whack at the piñata, as we like to say, at some point in time in the near future.
preferences? I think Tom gave his.
Yeah.
I'd like to put it on as a comment for this project, and then if, if for some reason they can prove that, they come in with drawings or something that they're looking forward for sure and doing something with the drive-through, it might be able to justify an extension, but I'd like to put it on there for now, for this project. Include the sidewalk extension.
Yeah, I agree with Keith. I think Keith makes a great point. If they come forward, a few months later with changes to the drive-through, I think it would be reasonable at that point in time to say that we could delay the sidewalk while they redo the drive-through and then complete the project at that point. But at least we'd have it on record that the sidewalk must go in.
Tom, is that what you were saying? Are you okay with that? I didn't
yeah,
quite interpret it that way. but-
So it would please me if it was done during this project, but I guess as long as in the long run, but we don't know when the long run really might be, right? When the drive-through would be done. So being a walker and a runner, I do appreciate sidewalks everywhere, right? Literally. So, because in that case, you end up stepping out on the road and it's a safety issue. I think we all kind of know that, so.
Well, and our goal's been to include sidewalks from property line to property line. So,
I don't know how this slipped by, to be honest with you.
It is kind of unusual looking, isn't it?
it? Yes.
Yep.
I have a feeling that it may have occurred, looking at the color of the pavement in that print. M59 was redone and boulevarded here, whatever it's now been, 10 years. And I have a feeling that that may have all happened at that time, and Burger King wasn't one of the sites that was improved at that time. There was nothing done to it other than we needed to get the access drive between Burger King and the gas station to the east. And that was put in, and I wonder if it just,
That was improved as part of the.
it was improved as part of the M59 improvement?
Yes.
And it ended. Because honestly, until I read this print, or this review letter, I didn't realize it had stopped. And then I looked at the print and realized what you were talking about.
And that probably makes sense in where they extended the pork chop too. So, I mean, they got it to there.
I think it, and
It's
the
a
pork
lot.
chop's new.
Yes.
That went in, so I have a feeling they went together.
Right.
yeah.
And I also think there's that detention pond in that area just south where it stopped. And I don't know if there's, a
great
side slope that they
difference.
just are like, we don't want to deal with this right now for the volume of the
Al-
detention.
Always.
You know what I
an
mean?
issue,
So that
yes.
could be why also that it didn't continue. I don't know what the volume and all the whole detention thing is, but there is a detention pond.
We'll look at the constructability if we can get cross slopes and proper accessibility. I see no objection.
Very good.
Okay,
I had one other question.
absolutely.
Are there currently coolers outside in the back with the wall built around them?
You know what, based on the aerial, like behind a Taco Bell or standalone KFC, it's just on a pad. I don't see that. And I certainly don't on those elevations. So
I think it's a
that's the
dumpster.
dumpster enclosure is that is the further, yes, that, and then that is all hard building there. It's not, there's no freestanding coolers.
I may have some. So you can see the dumpster enclosure here, and then this is building area.
Yes, that's where we were talking about extending the height of the parapet to cover from the rear elevation.
I was just reading through the site plan applications number 59 back in 1986. It's on page 4, I guess it would, page 2, if we don't have page 2. Just said the changes include moving the coolers outside behind the building, constructing a wall around them, and moving the dumpster enclosure 10 feet to the south. I was just curious if that, if the cooler was outside still and if there was plans for it, so.
Based on the panic hardware in that door, I don't think it's a cooler. All right, let me look at the floor plan and I'll tell you. Should be easy enough.
He asked that question.
I don't think it's a cooler,
And right there.
Closed.
but it's enclosed.
Oh, yes, it's a hard, I mean, the height would suggest at one point in time they were coolers, but they were integrated wholly into the architecture
Maybe that happened in.
when they augmented the coolers. That was a
Moved out
condition.
back side of the building and then bricked in.
It could be the reason the walls at the back of the building are so short.
height,
Maybe they're
right.
just tall enough to cover that.
Yeah.
Think.
Okay.
Thinking, I'm thinking that might.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a scupper on top of the existing parapet. I'll have to go to Martha's and look at the floor plan here. Please bear with me.
Wasn't there another project recently that, maybe it was behind the Checkers?
That we just did a
Yeah.
enclosure around.
There is a walk-in cooler at the rear of the building, but there's also a traditional, it's just part of the regular floor plan. It takes up about 3/4 of that room. If you look in the aerial, yeah, there you have it. That's that last bump out. So
Yeah, that's, I think what happened.
So it is within the building, apparently?
yes,
By the looks,
it's- yeah,
okay.
yeah, because, I mean, that's a traditional wall on the outside. There's a 1-inch annular space, and then the walk-in cooler freezers here.
Great.
So that's conventional construction. That's why we have the latitude to go up in that circumstance.
Great.
Any other questions? You have no problems with the DPW, fire marshal, all those?
No, yeah, no,
Probably pretty standard procedure in every community you run into, I would imagine.
They are, and we're as concerned about health, safety, and welfare as fire marshals. They may have different feelings, but we're fine.
Okay. Any other questions?
I did have one other
Absolutely.
item I wanted to point out on the site. And this isn't really going to be a good depiction of it, but right here on this aerial is a existing pole sign or pylon sign, however you want to refer to it. I gave you some history in the staff report about that sign. Also wanted to just make it known on the record that generally when you do a redevelopment of a site, and we're kind of in a gray area when you reface or refacade a building, is that a redevelopment or, but generally on a redevelopment, we would look at bringing this sign into compliance. And so what staff has outlined in the staff report for you is, to be fair to the applicant, that maybe with just refacing and changing the facade of the building, that might not warrant it, but at least put the applicant on notice that when they do come forward with that next phase of it, that this sign would be addressed at that point.
Unless you'd like to do it this round.
With all due respect, you know what, it might even be, the appropriate time may be at the next step, because it's all going to be signs, and that would be, we're going to have we don't have to mobilize twice. So there is some benefit to the investment to wait. And Mr. Lahangers, we would like to say, we hope we don't meet the threshold to have to move that sign now.
Yeah, we understand that. I think that's why he's pointing it out. I think we're just making everybody aware of it. When you leave this evening, notice that you have one of the older-looking signs in the community, so we'll be anxious for you to come for the next step.
And we look forward to that.
Great.
So that brings up another note. Was the drive-through mentioned?
They're not doing anything to the drive-through this
Leaving it as it
route.
is, so the future drive-through would be an entire change.
That
Even
would be-
The signage.
Yeah, that would be them coming back to us again when they go to I don't know, does Burger King use the double drive-through concept?
They do. They do.
Okay.
It's not always appropriate, but I have to tell you that those two work hand in hand with one another. They would like to do them, but for complexity scope, sometimes they just separate them. Let's get the street presence fixed, because that's really back of house. Then we'll come back and we'll fix that, just so, the rapidity of the improvements. I can't express to you how anxious we are to get the zoning certificate and get into the county so we can get this thing constructed, and we'll worry about the back of house afterward as far as the signage, because that really is immensely important for the customer interface. The new signs, the new menu boards, I mean, we don't like have old image any more than you do. It's just, we're going to have this shiny new coin out here with, you know, Fonzie stuff in the back. So we want to get that fixed as well.
Okay. So it'll come at that time. Any other questions for them? If not, I believe you will find the motion, if you're so inclined, on page 1, or the first page of the staff review letter dated the 31st.
Go for it.
So I got this sent. I move to approve site plan application number 19-009, a request to amend the original site plan and remodel the existing Burger King building at 10382 Highland Road. Renovations include changing the architecture of the building, new facade finishes on the building's exterior, and installation of additional landscaping on the site. Approval is subject to the following conditions. Number 1, the applicant shall adequately address the outstanding items noted in the planning department's memorandum dated October 31st, 2019 on the construction plan set, subject to the administrative review by the planning commission staff prior to the issuance of a land use permit. Number 2, the building elevation shall be revised to show the parapet wall being extended in a similar manner to the current building elevation plans, and on all 4 sides to sufficiently screen all rooftop equipment in compliance with the zoning ordinance. 3, applicant complies with any requirement of the Department of Public Works Director and Heartland Deerfield Fire Authority and all other government agencies as applicable.
I think that was it.
Should we include?
Did you want that
You're going to
sidewalk?
put the
Yeah.
sidewalk
Number
now?
4.
Yeah.
How should that be termed? Suggestions?
Well, you can, the applicant shall install the sidewalk along
Extension.
Blaine Road to its southern limits.
So the applicant shall install the sidewalk from where it terminates at Blaine Road to the south to the entrance.
Support.
So we have a motion from Commissioner Murphy, second from Commissioner Mitchell, to approve site plan application number 19-009 for the Burger King remodel. Any further discussion, questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Congratulations, thank you, and
Thank you very much.
enjoyed meeting you tonight.
Likewise.
Looking forward to that.
Yep.
Mr. Langer, do you need this retained? You're welcome to have it, or I can take it back and
Yeah, if you don't mind leaving that for, until we move on to construction.
certainly.
Thanks.
Perfect. Have a safe drive home.
Here's one, thank you.
Item 8, call to the public. Seeing none, we will move on to item 9, planners report.
I really don't have much, but I just want to let you know that what I plan to do at the next meeting is I'll bring those elevations to share with you and show you as we move forward with this project, so you can see what that looks like.
Perfect. Committee reports, comments from anybody? None? Okay, motion to adjourn, please.
So moved?
Support?
We have Voigt and Murphy. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Well, that was easy.